What's up, guys? Welcome back to a podcast that doesn't have a name yet. so if you're subscribing from YouTube, you've seen the Quotes and Chokes podcast. This is not going to be the same thing, but it's going to be the same type of show, right? So I don't live in Colorado anymore. We're starting a new show out here in California. This is our school, Prism Jiu Jitsu. So I guess for now we'll call it Prism Jiu Jitsu Podcast, which is not very catchy, but we'll work on it.
The Prism Podcast.
Prism. Every time I want to come up with some sort of name for something, I always have to resist the urge to do the prison pun.
Yeah.
Like we have the tournament coming up, and I really wanted to call it Prism Fights, so it would sound like prison fights, but I figured it would get the wrong crowd of people. I feel like we're gonna need to get a third mic for Omar, right? Because he can't.
Yeah, but we're starting off, so I'll just throw it to Omar and we can practice our catches.
Well, everybody
you can
on
my.
Puerto Ricans, so Puerto Ricans talk loud. We talk really loud.
That wasn't in the.
People say Puerto Ricans talk really loud.
Oh, okay.
So I don't need a mic.
So you don't need a.
I have a big mouth.
All right. Well, we can share. We'll pass it back and forth.
Right,
I can share with him because you'll have to pass across the thing.
Right.
So why don't we like rehash the conversation we had after class? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
So we were talking about. Should I look at you? Should I look at the camera?
Yeah. Look at wherever you want. Yeah.
Camera. So we were talking about like.
I mean, the other podcasts, they don't even look at the camera. You look at like Jocko.
We're just looking at each other, right?
They're not even looking at the camera. Yeah. Or
okay,
Joe Rogan, they're not even looking at the camera.
That's true. That.
Joe Rogan's always high though. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Joe Rogan would be pretty awkward if he spent the whole podcast like staring.
And they're always
the
smoking weed on Joe Rogan too.
Yeah,
so.
That's true. Well, next time if we didn't have a no food on the mats rule, we could get. Maybe next time we could do it somewhere else where we can have some whiskey or something.
Okay.
But not at 10 a.m.
I know, right? 10 a.m. Yeah, we're doing it at 10 o'clock in the morning.
But anyways, yeah. So we were talking about like improvement and getting frustrated with jiu-jitsu. And like, you know what, man, the unfortunate thing is like having those like classes or weeks where you're like, dude, I'm not getting any better. Am I getting worse possibly? Like it's like so part of the game forever, unfortunately. But it'll happen less and less and less and less.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like there's no light at the end of the tunnel. But it's never like a steady uphill. It's it's up and down, but overall, it goes up. But those times are, they're frustrating. And what I've found that like what gets me through those times, I just have to stop because the more I'm like, dude, I need to do better. And then like I just like try harder. And then like I just have to, what usually gets me through is I just like let go of it. Like I'm just like, whatever. Like I'm just going to show up and have fun.
Mm-hmm.
And then after a few days of doing that, and I'm not overthinking it so much, then I kind of like break through those plateaus,
Yeah.
But it sucks. It sucks to just get your ass kicked for a long time.
I mean, I'll just be honest with the people. Like the context is like I had an emotional moment here. Yeah, it was frustrating, man, because I've been my ass kicked like the last 2 days, like just totally fucking getting my ass whipped, and like I don't know how many times got submitted, like 12 times, 15 times, 20 times in the last 2 days, like 10 times a session. And I've only been doing this for 3 months. I mean, almost 3 months, and
almost
it's just
3 months. Yeah,
it's the most frustrating freaking thing I've ever did was jiu-jitsu. It's like like a lot of other things, like I'm able to like catch on and excel, pretty quickly, but jiu-jitsu I can't. There's no hacks for jiu-jitsu. There's no easy way in or out of it. It's like you just you just get your ass kicked, man. And it's just the only time. I mean, I saw your thing on the on Instagram. And it says like you could fake a lot of things, but you can't fake jiu-jitsu. It's all about mat time.
Yeah.
And you can't fake your way through jiu-jitsu. It's like, I mean, and I don't know. I was just super frustrated. I don't know. I got emotional, man. I think the fight or flight took over, and I was just
it's an emotional thing. It's interesting about like something about learning. I guess you say fighting or like martial arts is it feels like it feels like it has a tie or it kind of defines us a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you're as men, I think I don't know how if it feels different for for with women in the class, but I think for men, like the two things that feel fucking terrible is not being able to make it like to pay the bills, basically. You know what I mean? And not being able to fight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Huh? Well, like what I was trying to tell you earlier, like you were saying to Nick what he put on the post. When I used to wrestle, my high school coach used to say to us, like, you guys can hide all you want behind the other wrestlers, but I know who's actually paying attention, who's actually doing the moves. Because once you on the mat, it's just you.
Yeah.
Nobody else, and you cannot blame nobody else but yourself. Like let's say you got tapped 20 times. You cannot blame that on that person who's tapping you. You cannot blame it on Nick. You cannot blame no but yourself. You know what I mean? Like you do. I seen that you've been working really hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it just takes a lot of time. Because when I first started, it was like I was telling you earlier. When I started, I used to take down takedowns. I have it, no problem. When I was on my back, I sucked, like big time. But now, like when me and you roll, I sweep you, right? I never used to do that before. Now, I had this one black belt tell me every day for 3 to 4 or 5 months, he's like, "You're not gonna wrestle me no more. You're gonna start on your back from now on. Every time you come in, you go straight to your back." And I'm like, "I don't want to." He's like, "You're gonna have to."
One thing that got me frustrated is that you scissor sweep me like 3 times and I got caught. And I was like, that was the fucking 3rd time. Like, and that's when I really was like getting fucking pretty pissed at myself, not at you. But you caught me 3 times, and I knew you were coming on the 3rd time, and you got it anyway. And I was like, God damn it, you know? Like, and you heard me, right?
Yeah.
I was like, fuck.
Yeah.
You know, like.
Yeah, well, that happened to me, what was it, last week? And I posted it up, and I was like, I had a shitty day. You know, because I was so angry because I got caught in things that I should have never got caught in. But it's like you have your ups and you have your downs. But yesterday was great for me. I was like, even niggas like, how do you feel today? Look how you felt great. I'm like, I feel awesome. I went home, I was happy, and then I was just so excited. I couldn't even sleep.
But that's what makes it so awesome, because if you don't have the shitty days, then like if you just come every day like you're like, oh, I'm getting fucking better and better and better, it just doesn't really mean shit. That's just, you know what I mean? If you don't have the shitty days where you get your ass kicked, then it doesn't feel good to have the good days. You know what I mean? But yeah, I don't know. That's just, I feel like that's with everything, right? Like if everything was perfect, then it would just be boring, you know? Jiu-jitsu is so addicting because it's like playing video games, where I feel like nowadays, I don't even know if video games are like this, but it's like when was levels, you know what I mean? And you're like trying to beat that boss or whatever. If you didn't get fucking crushed for the first 37 times, then you finally beat it, and it wouldn't be like that. Fuck yeah, like, you know, like there would be no reward. So yeah, that's just part of the journey. And what you have to be able to do is just not be like, oh, I got scissor sweeped, and then just leave it there. Like you have to find the answer. You know what I always tell people is like, first try to think of it yourself, because that's a practicable skill, and something that, like, so what I used to do is when I started, I would like, this is the pattern that I see. I got caught with this a few times. I would go home and like try to think of like, how do I counter that sweep, you know? And I would usually be wrong, but then I would try a few times, you know what I mean? And it used to take me, you know, a day or two to like think through and find the answer, but you practice it, and now I can do it in the moment, you know what I mean? Like just because I got faster at the
Ghost.
I got faster at the process, you know? So now I can, like, if someone's gonna sweep me, I'd be like, how do I counter this? I can like look around and be like, you know, bam, there it is, you know? So start with trying to think of it yourself. Then if you can't find that answer, then that's when you go to your instructor, right? So in your case, me, but you can be like, I'm getting swept to this. And you should have an instructor, right? For everyone out there, you should have an instructor that is able to be like, this is your problem, here's the answer, you know? If you don't, then you have some issues, other issues to deal with. You know what I mean? So yeah.
No, yeah, you're always there, Nick, when I have questions or if I want to run some drills or, you know, whatever. But yeah, it's just, you know, it's frustrating, man. I think the one thing about jiu-jitsu is like that we all love about it is like, you know, like there's really like the no pain, no gain in this thing, man, because, you know, like you go home sore and you're just, you know, and your heart's crushed at the same time, you know, like, so it's like you get double smashed when you get home. And then you come back for more, man. You know, like you're watching YouTube videos, or I'm watching Nick's channel now. I go to Nick's channel because he teaches the same things that you're teaching us here, so I can actually go back and like watch it over and over again. But the thing about it is like you know, you don't have a live partner all the time. You either have your wife, and your wife gets tired of it, and you know, and but you have to come back to here.
It's awesome that your wife lets you drill moves on her, because I've never I have that option.
My wife actually thinks she says, "This is pretty fun." You know,
oh, really?
Yeah, she's a pretty physical person too.
Oh, okay.
So, but
yeah, my wife likes jiu-jitsu, but I don't think I've ever been like, all right, get down on the wood floor here for me. Let me choke you really fast.
we have a soft little a soft little turf.
Yeah.
It has sand on the bottom and stuff, so it's pretty.
Oh, okay.
You know, it's pretty. It's like the mats, you know, but it's not as big. But you know, she'll if I'm really frustrated with something like today, I'm gonna teach her how to do the scissors, and I'm like, just do it to me until I can figure out how to not let Omar scissor me again. you know, because you were doing the knee push, you know.
The first one I did was the original when we sweep the foot, and then you started blocking it, and that's when I started attacking the knee to do. The fat man sweep. When it's the bigger guy, I call it the fat man sweeps.
I feel like there's so many sweeps in jiu-jitsu that people call it the fat man this, fat man that.
Well, because of the big guys, we have like, you gotta attack our knees basically.
You gotta push the leg out. Yeah. I could tell you already. I could tell you right away that the answer to that scissor sweep is just your posture. So he's able to pull you forward so that your legs are really light, and then it's easy to just go. You know. So the you need to have your hips underneath you. Yeah, and the reason you lost your posture, so it all goes back to this. The reason you lost your posture is because he said his grips. He had a collar and a sleeve. So with this guy, I will I'm not, because I might not be able to break his grip once he gets it. So my goal is like my hands are like in front of my collars, and I'm just like smacking his hands away because I don't even want to let him like get a finger on my. You know what I mean? And then once I get mine, then if he, you know, then it's, you know, obviously he's going to get some grip, right? Because otherwise we're going to stay 2 feet apart. But once I have my dominant grips, then I won't worry about it so much. But I for bigger guys and someone with strong grip, like Omar, like I don't want him to get any grip at all. So as soon as we start, I'm just like parrying his hands and not let him get a hold of my collar. So that was the beginning. And so he had the collar, and that way he was able to take your posture away. And because you were leaning so far forward, your legs were light on the ground, and he could sweep your legs up from under you. Posture and grip, you know, yeah. Yeah. So I don't know what else.
Well, when
we talk about coffee.
Oh
no. Well, when you were saying that you was getting mad and upset, like it shows that you care. You know what I mean? Because when I get upset, it's because I care. Yeah. But like when you're rolling, it's like try not to think about it. Because when you stop thinking about it, getting frustrated, that's when you lose.
Mm-hmm.
I notice when I roll and I get frustrated, I lose.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but if I stay calm, I'm not gonna lose. Even if you whoop my ass, I'm still gonna try to remain calm.
I mean, you said something interesting too. Is like, you know, when Omar said like, you know, you have no one else to blame. That's the thing about jiu-jitsu is like.
Yeah,
you have no one else.
You're like face to face with yourself.
Your professor's there, and all your friends are around.
Yeah,
and you have no one to blame. There's no like, you can't go run into the room and hide.
Yeah.
You can't say, oh, this happened. You can't say, oh man, like my leg hurts or my knee hurts, but you came anyway.
Yeah.
So it's like you shouldn't have fucking came. You know, like if you have excuses, like if you're hurting, then don't come.
Right,
you know, like you made the mistake by coming hurt, and then you made the mistake by getting, you know, crushed. You know, like. There's no hiding in this, and that's the one thing that I'm learning. Like, I wanna blame somebody, but I'm like, fuck, but that was my mistake. Like, I'm the one that was light on my feet, you know. Like, I'm the one that let you have your grip in, you know, like your dominant grip. And when Omar's grip is in there, it's like, dude, you can see his big old bare hands. It's like you're not getting out of it, dude. You know, no, dude. Like when you're on my collar, dude, and I'm looking at your wrist, I'm like, dude, there's. And then Nick's like, you got to get his grip out. I'm like. bro, you try to get his grip out, bro. Get it's like there and just like this big old bare hand, dude. And it's like, you know.
And I see your look. It's like, tag me in, coach, please. Tag me in.
Dude, so it's funny that you were saying that about not thinking about it so much.
Mm-hmm.
You ever seen The Last Samurai?
Yeah.
The Tom Cruise movie? Yeah. So, it was just, I literally like looked up this YouTube clip last night because it's the best martial arts advice I've ever seen in a movie. And it's actually, I like that movie, but it gets a lot of crap. You know what I mean? It's a little bit cheesy, but it's Tom Cruise being a samurai. So like, you know what I mean? But there's like a gold piece of advice in there, and like he's like learning to I don't know what they call it back then, but now it's kendo, right? He's learning the sword fighting, you know? And he's obviously getting his ass kicked, and the guy comes in, and he's like gives him it broken English, you know? And he's like, Jay's a Japanese guy, and he goes, too many mind, and he was like, what? You know, he's like, you mind the people watching, mind your sword, mind your enemy, you know. He's like, too many mind, no mind. And he was like, oh fuck, that is so fucking true. Like, it's like, dude, you can't, like, if you think about, like, dude, if you ever had like you know, I'm married now, but if I ever had like a girlfriend come in and watch jiu-jitsu, invariably I just get fucking crushed because I'm just like, I gotta make sure she thinks I look cool, you know what I mean? Or like even if you're just thinking of yourself, right? Like that's why they say like, you know, leave your ego at the door, because yourself is watching your jiu-jitsu, you know what I mean? So like, I gotta make sure I'm happy with this, or I gotta win. Just no mind, you know what I mean? The mind is like when you're drilling, turn your mind on and thinking through things, you know? Or when you go to roll and you're like, I'm gonna work on this. Sometimes I'll roll and I'm like, I need to work on this move. So I have to turn my mind on because I have to force my way to this new position and then work that new move, you know? But then when I'm just rolling, just turn it off. Just feel it, you know? Yeah.
No. Yeah, it's Omar, go ahead, bro. You have something to say,
I
bro.
don't know what else to say right now. I'm so lost right now. You lost me on Tom Cruise.
I know.
I'm like, he should have never been in that movie. They should have found somebody else better.
That movie came on TBS the other day, bro, and I kind of watched it. I was like, it's interesting, man. I've been watching all these old martial arts movies, and you know, so.
Dude, I think it's awesome. I know the hate that everyone gets is like, why is this white dude the last samurai? But he's not the last samurai. The last samurai is the old Japanese. Yeah. He's the last samurai. It's like the story of him, because Tom Cruise is telling the story of him dying. You know?
Yeah.
But it couldn't have been like if it was already someone that was Japanese, then the story wouldn't have, because the whole thing is that he has to adjust to the culture. The whole storyline is that he's adjusting to the culture. So if it was like a Japanese person, they would not. Maybe a small adjustment because you know, there's samurai, so it's different than probably the general population, but still a lot less of an adjustment, I would assume.
Because he already been like halfway there if he was Japanese, and it was like, I've been watching this other show. It's on HBO, and this guy, you know, it's a white reporter dude, and he's in Japanese culture, and it's kind of like that. Yeah. I forgot what the name of the HBO show is, but I've been watching a lot of the Japanese culture because it kind of has to do with jiu-jitsu too, I think, you know? Like, so I've been trying to understand that so I can understand jiu-jitsu a little more. Nice. But I forgot the name of it, but I'll let you guys know after. But it's... Yeah.
How many times have they made that same movie, though, where it's like some Western culture, like, asshole, then he like gets stuck for some reason with like another culture, and then turns out loving that culture, turning his life around, usually gets rid of alcoholism and then he ends up joining them and fighting a battle. Like that's Pocahontas. That's it's Avatar. It's Last Samurai. That's like the same. They make that movie like 800 times. What's that?
Or American Ninja. I remember American, or all the Van Damme movies were like that. Yeah. Remember what was it? Bloodsport.
Yeah.
When he was like, wasn't that the one where he was like,
he goes blind?
Or no, he was like a little kid lost in Vietnam or something like that, and then he learns from some Japanese soldier that.
No, what he did was he broke into somebody's house.
Oh.
And then that same guy he broke into the house, that he's the one who taught him how to fight, and his brother in martial arts is the kid who beat the crap out of him in the beginning.
Yeah.
for stealing food or something.
You know what? I have a confession to make. I've never seen a Van Damme movie. Any
dang, bro! There was a Bloodsport, bro. You guys,
somebody put on Bloodsport for me, and I literally just like, I'm gonna go to sleep.
Bro, he's back down to brown belt now.
I just took a nap. I was like, yeah, this isn't good at all. I feel like it's one of those movies that have to have that if you didn't see it when it was new, and it doesn't have like the nostalgic value, then it's just cheesy.
Man, Bloodsport's the best, dude. Like, it's so good. It's so good, dude. Even though it's cheesy, it has like what's his name, Bolo, in there too.
So
like,
you guys never watched Only the Strong? Wow.
I've never heard of it.
Wow. You never watched Only the Strong? Oh, dude.
Was that like a martial arts movie?
Yeah, it's a capoeira movie.
Oh, well, you lost me there.
No, you need to watch it. It's sick.
Only the strong dance fighting.
It's sick, though. It's like really sick.
Nick, I think I don't even know what your origin is, man. Like how you started doing this. I don't think anybody else does in the.
Yeah. I don't know. It's not really super interesting.
It always is, though, right? Like, yeah. Even though you don't think about it, it's like I want to know because you're our professor. You know, like in.
So I started with karate, and then I was a brown belt in karate, which in that style is the belt before black, just like that's the same as jiu-jitsu. I kind of became, like everyone says like they did taekwondo or karate or whatever, and then they watched UFC and they saw Royce Gracie and they're like, oh man, I like this other shit doesn't work, which isn't true. Karate is effective for what it is made for, right? So it just wasn't made for MMA. It was made, the karate is taught as a point sparring martial arts, and there's a bunch of. I'm gonna get on a tangent here. I want to make sure no one thinks that I'm talking shit on karate. There are a bunch of good karatekas. Isn't that the word for people who do karate? Like judoka, karateka, I think that's what. Yeah. So that have adapted, and then like Raymond Daniels is fucking amazing. So but the issue is, so I think that the two things that give karate a little bit of a bad name in like modern martial arts is, for one, it's similar to like if you do sport jiu-jitsu and then you just sign up for an MMA fight. Like, it's not the same. Like, the martial art is effective, but if you've been training for a point system with no strikes, you can't just go fight. It's not going to work out, So it's same with karate. Is like it's just taught as a point. Karate tournaments are point sparring. Like, you just have to get one shot, and then there's no countering. Whatever. Fuck. I shouldn't have gone on a tangent. And the other thing is just the fact that there are a lot of super watered down places like karate dojos, because it's better for making maximum amounts of money, because you don't have to be tough and you don't have to get punched in the face. But unfortunately, if you're not getting punched in the face, you're not getting better at fighting. You know what I mean? So I think, so if you go to like a legit school and you make the training for full contact sparring, like a what's the style of karate that George St. Pierre did? The one where they have leg kicks and it's full contact karate. Well, whatever. But there's styles.
My style karate was breathing techniques and defense.
Okay.
So notice
it's more of a self-defense art.
Yeah. So let's say when we do jiu-jitsu, I don't know if you notice, I do more defense than offense.
Yeah.
I put in the offense, but not as much as I do defense.
Nice.
Because that's the way I was always taught.
Yeah, and that's kind of the beginning roots of jiu-jitsu as well.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I did karate, and then I became like disillusioned because somebody was like, "Hey, you should do a cage fight." It was like that's what they said. And I was like, that sounds awesome. I didn't even know what MMA was. They said cage fight, and I thought of that scene in Spider-Man, like, I got you for 5 minutes of playtime. You know what I'm talking about? So I was like, yeah, fuck yeah, that sounds cool. And
that means you never watched Bloodsport then, because then that's the only thing I knew MMA. I was like, is it like Bloodsport? Like, where they all go in and this is like, until someone like breaks arm?
Yeah, so I should have watched Bloodsport. I would have done better in my first fight. But so I signed up. I went out there and I did pretty good on the feet, and then the guy just kept taking me down at the end of the round, and I would just be stuck on the bottom. I would just be in my guard, and I'm just like smacking him or whatever. I just didn't know how to.
Did you even know? Did you know what the guard was when you were like getting taken down?
Yes. Yeah, so I called a friend that had like a 2-stripe white belt, and I was like, I need you to teach me jiu-jitsu in the next 4 weeks. So like, yeah, he taught me like an arm bar and a triangle from the guard, and then anyways, yeah. So I lost a split decision. It was a smoker fight, so it's not on my record, but it's I think it's on YouTube. It's like my only fight on YouTube. I lost a split.
We'll put the link in the description.
I'd rather not, actually. I'd rather not. I lost a split decision. I actually thought I won. The promoter thought I won, so I was like, okay, well, I could have done pretty good if I had actually trained, because I was just taking karate classes and punching a punching bag in the garage, and then learning jiu-jitsu on my friend's living room floor. And then so I was like, I'm gonna learn jiu-jitsu. I'll come back in 3 months, and then I'll be better at the ground, right? And then so I signed up, and same as you, 3 months in, and I found out that it is a lot more complicated than I thought it was. So I kept training for a while, and my instructor, my instructor now was my first instructor, and then I left. Long story short, I had to go to a different school that was not near there, and I was at a 10th Planet gym. And then I came back to my instructor, who's my instructor now. So one of the things he used to say was like, you look at every single UFC champion. This is still true. If you look at every single UFC champion in history, they all have a competition background before MMA, right? So like because the place to learn how to deal with the nerves and the pressure is not in the cage. You know what I mean? To make those mistakes and things like that, even if it's like football or basketball, like you have to learn how to handle the nerves before someone's trying to kick you in the fucking head. You know what I mean? So the
in football, I learned just to pee in my pants, and I was all good.
Yeah. But anyway, so I was like, okay. So I took that to heart, and I did jiu-jitsu competitions up to purple belt, and then came back to MMA. Did pretty well as an amateur. My record wasn't great. It was 4-2 as an amateur. But the two guys that I lost to, one went to the UFC. Roosevelt Roberts. I think he's losing, but he went on a huge streak in the UFC. Had a bunch of finishes of the night, whatever. And the other one, that guy did pretty good, but I fought him outside in the pouring rain. So like, and I'm a grappler. So like we were slipping, and we were literally slipping and falling, and my like darces were slipping out. I had him like gurgling and chokes a bunch of times, but we were like, it was pouring on us. So that one kind of sucked. The other one was a legit loss, but that one guy was great. Then I turned pro, and that's when I came back to my instructor now, and he like helped me out a lot. So I went 5-1 as a pro, and I signed with like a major agency, like a sports agency, and they were like, 1-2 more fights, and then we'll get you on the big show. And then so I had a fight scheduled for, it was like April 4th of 2020, and March 30th all the arenas closed down. So
because of COVID?
Yeah. So then it was 2 years of like struggling to get a fight, and what was interesting is like the last 3 or 4 fights of my like pro career, I was like, I didn't like love it really, you know what I mean? Like I liked it, but a little. I mean, yeah, I liked it, but I didn't love it. I wasn't passionate, and then eventually I was just getting more and more burnt out. And the only reason I kept going was like I put so much time into this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to quit. Like I have to at least go until I fail. If I fail, then I'm fine. I didn't want to like tell my kids like, yeah, I was doing good, and I just decided to give up. You know what I mean? So I kept going, and then from the beginning, my wife and I always had a deal, is like, because she really wanted to have kids. So it was like, by the time I'm 30, if I'm not making a living from fighting, then I'll stop fighting, because I can't train full time, work full time, and be any sort of parent. So like,
you don't want to be an Uber driver, bro?
I was an Uber driver, but like drive 10 hours a week, train a day, then train 3-4 hours a day. Like, when am I even going to?
I always remember that commercial when that sprinter, he's like, "Oh, I Uber drive and I sprint for Olympic team." I'm like, that's a hard life, bro.
Yeah, that's a bunch of bullshit too. I was so poor, man. Like when I was an Uber driver, I remember like we would go on Amazon Prime, and they'd be like, Oh, it's a $3.99 rental? No, where's the free shit? We can't get that. Anyways, I was where was I?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
30,
yeah. So
at 30 your wife.
I was getting
Yeah.
burnt out, and then that was our deal, and so I was like, all right, so I'm ready to I want to have a kid, and I honestly like the last 2 years I was like so depressed with my life, like I fucking hated it. Like I was
It's COVID, bro. It was like it was a hard time.
No, it was because I never stopped working. I was working the whole time because I was essential because yeah. So what my other business was. So the it was just a fucking, all I did was sleep, work, and train, and I didn't like training anymore. So I was like, I took that as like, okay, so I need to stop training. But then when I did, or stop fighting, when I did and I went back to sport jiu-jitsu, I was like, this is the fucking best. This was always my passion. But the advice someone told me is they were like, dude, you can never go back to fighting. So if you're on the fence, do fighting. And if it doesn't work when you're older, you can go back to jiu-jitsu. But you can't do fighting and then go back to MMA when you're older. You know what I mean? So so when I was 30, I switched back to MMA jiu-jitsu, and it's been the best thing ever. I should have done it forever ago. Like I'm super. I wouldn't say that actually, because it's helpful that I have my fight resume for people. It's good for the gym. It's good for business, but it's the best thing. In terms of things to do, obviously I don't love jiu-jitsu more than my family, but in terms of like activities, it's the best thing there is. So like since coming back, it's like, yeah, it's fucking awesome. And then I still get to compete, but now training and working is the same thing. Yeah. So it takes up far less time. My schedule's super full. I hang out with my family all the time. So yeah. So that's.
But as a person who I have no idea what jiu-jitsu was or MMA, because I've never really had any interest in it. But as a person coming into the gym here, why I chose here is because it feels like I'm a surfer and it's really chill, but you work your ass off here.
Yeah.
Like the mat time, like the first time I ever came in, I think, oh, I'm going to come and drill. He's going to teach me a couple moves the whole time. It'll be an hour. Then I'll be out. Then I'll
sparred for 45 minutes.
Fuck, you made me spar for like, bro, you were just like, okay. He was like, get in this guard. I was like, what the hell is a guard? And you were like, go. I was like, what? Okay, let's go. And then he said spar. And I was like, spar? Or like, I don't know what I'm doing. But
I do that very intentionally. And
I had fun. I had fun, and but it wasn't intimidating, right? I mean, have you been part of gyms that were intimidating?
Yes and no. I don't know if that makes sense. Because like with me, me and you was talking before we started, I came from a hard life. You know what I mean? So mine is like what was it? I'm considered to be, in my mom's words, the rape. So I'm Omar. They call me Wasabara. Wasabara means warrior. What else? I can explain it. Like it's a Taino word from where I'm come from. And it's like you're the warrior of your family. You're the protector. You are like the rock, in other words. So, like, let's say, for some reason, let's say we're in the gym, and you're falling apart. I'll be your rock. Like, I'll protect you. I'll make sure you'll be okay, even though I'm not okay. So that's a wasabara.
You be my shoulder to cry on when I need
pretty
you.
Pretty much, yeah. So, like, but I've always been that type of person, you know what I mean? Because I know how it is when you don't have somebody there for you. And when you don't have somebody, you fall apart really quick, and you spiral out of control, in other words. So like in my mom's words, it was like I was the rape baby. Like me and my older brother.
That took a turn. Wait, what?
Well, it's like I was saying, it's like my life has been really hard, you know what I mean? Yeah. Because like my
you grew up in Puerto Rico?
Huh?
Puerto Rico?
Yeah, so my older brother and I, we have the same month birthday. He was born in 85. I was born in 86. My birthday's before his. His is the end of July. Mine's the beginning of July. So people think we're twins because he wasn't even 1 year old yet. So if you know a woman's body, it has to heal, right? So my dad was all like messed up on drugs, and he's just like, you gonna do this, blah, blah, blah. And she didn't want to, but he, in other words, forced her to. So that's why it came about. But and then after that, so it was like I was born, and then I almost died a couple of times. I got into a car accident because he didn't fix the door of a car. And in Puerto Rico, if you've ever been to Puerto Rico, it's like mountains, but it's also smaller roads. So I wind up falling.
Like cliffside.
Yeah. So they were arguing in the car, and I was just playing with the door, and the door opened, and I just fell out of the car and fell to my basically death, in other words. and a truck came like this close to my head. And when the truck stopped,
How old were you?
I was like maybe like 3 years old, 2 years old.
Shit, that's crazy.
So I was maybe in a coma like for 5 months, and I needed blood. And nobody from my mom's side of the family had the same type of blood. It was just my dad. And when I was born, I have another sister the same age as me. And when I was being born, she was being born. My dad was there for her birth, not mine, because I wasn't.
Oh, from a different mom.
Yeah, so
Okay.
I wasn't his child. So it turns out she wasn't the child of his. I was his own son. So for them to do so in other words, my blood is his blood.
Do you talk to your dad still?
Oh, no.
I was gonna say this guy
No.
seems like a piece of work.
No. The last time I talked to him, I was like 18 years old, and it was weird because he just called me out of nowhere. He's like, "Happy birthday to you," and I'm like, "I'm a grown ass man, and you sing happy birthday to me," and he's like, "I just was thinking about you," and I'm like, "Okay." And then when he found out I had kids, I'm like, "Listen, if you want to be part of my life, cool. I'm good with that. But me and you, we're done. We've been done since day one. If you want to be there for my kids, cool. Like, I appreciate it. But if not, then there's a door, bro." And then he always, like, my brothers and sisters always tell me, or his side of the family tells me, like, "Hey, make up with your dad." I'm like, then me and my dad will make up if he will glove up, and me and him will go one more time. So he used to beat the crap out of me all the time. But I was like I said, like a wasabara.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I used to see him beat on my mom, I would just go straight to him. And this is a big dude, and I was just a kid. And he used to like swing at me like if I was a man.
Mm.
So, like, I don't take everything for granted. You know what I mean? And everything that I got, like, I earned.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, my purple right now, I've been blue belt for 3 years. Like yesterday I got home, I got emotional. And I was telling my kids and everybody's happy, you know what I mean? But I'm like, but I earned it. Nobody said, "Hey, you know what? You was here for 3 months, 2 months. Here's a belt.
Mm-hmm.
Keep up the good job." Like, I know I have to earn my purple. I had to do 2 parts of the testing.
Yeah, that's the one thing about Nick's school is like he ain't trying to hand it out like candy, man.
Yep.
Like you got to earn that shit, man.
And that's what I want.
So
That's
even
what
my
I need.
stripe, I ain't even got no stripe yet. I'm like, but I'm not even mad about it because I know I haven't. If he gave it to me now, I'm like, I haven't earned this shit yet.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's not gonna give it to me till I earn it, man. So
You're getting close though.
all right, I don't. Dude, if you would have gave it to me today, bro, I'm like, fuck that, I'm not coming back. Yeah.
Yeah, you're getting close. Well, we'll leave it there.
Yeah.
I won't say anything else about it.
No, dude, it's
Keep it
yeah.
special.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, so I started jiu-jitsu because I miss wrestling. I used to wrestle a lot in high school. I didn't have a best record in high school because all the guys I used to face was like, if you look them up today, they'll have their own YouTube channel. They have like 5 million plus followers in judo and all that stuff. But these are guys I look up now and I'm like, dude, I used to wrestle that guy. He beat the crap out of me, but I used to wrestle him. You know what I mean? And then, but now it's like, you ever see Step Brothers? You know the scene when the Shavaka mask, where he's like, well, wait, it's better now that we have 40 or whatever. He's like, I wish we had this as kids. Oh, the night goggles, the scene.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's like, well, it's better now. He's like, can you imagine we had these when we was like 10?
Oh, yeah.
These are like, well, way better because we have them now when we're 40.
Yeah.
And that's the way it was with me when I started jiu-jitsu. I wish I was a good wrestler. And then I noticed, like, now, like, when I go against other wrestlers, my wrestling is different from everybody else's wrestling because I don't just use one style. I go from when I need to use folk wrestling, I use folk wrestling. When I need to use freestyle wrestling, I use freestyle wrestling. When I need to use reco, I use reco. And I mix all that into one. So that's why when people roll with me, they're like, dude, it's hard. And I'm like, because if you put everything together, everything sticks together as one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then, like, when I started karate, I wasn't like, it was no mats. It was a hard floor, old school, like, we're going to beat the crap out of you. No pads, no nothing. I had bumps in my legs from all that stuff. Like, my sensei used to walk around with a bamboo stick. Like, oh, you mess up?
What?
Boom, he'll hit you with the
Was this in
bamboo
Puerto
stick.
Rico?
Nah, that was in
Is it over
New
here?
York.
New York. Oh,
Yeah.
snap.
So but his style was like old school, like straight out old school, and that's what I like. I like to go to schools like they don't soften you up. You know what I mean? Like, when I go hard, it's like because I'm trying to show you, like, hey, this is what really happens in competitions. You know what I mean? And then I'll just go soft afterwards. Like I'll give you a chance to work, but if I see that you just like lagging in there, I'm like, okay, if you just lag there, this was gonna happen to you. You know, because when mixed martial arts first started, it wasn't red, white, whatever belts. It was one belt, one white belt, and then they'll know when you're a black belt when your belt turned black.
Yeah.
And that's the old school way.
Not when mixed martial arts started.
Well, karate.
Yeah,
and like judo and
That's like 100 years ago.
Yeah, so like the jiu-jitsu belts, like the Gracies are the one who created basically, no?
I think that the Gracies didn't like Elio and stuff. Very famously, like wore a blue belt forever. I don't know where the belt system that we have now started, but it definitely wasn't like back then, like with Elio.
Yeah, because the way I was taught, it was like it was only one belt, and then you will know the level of that person. Because remember, the belt goes from white to yellow for all the sweats and everything. And the more work you put into that belt, it turns black. My white belt, my jiu-jitsu white belt, is actually like pretty black.
Yeah, that's the like the legend. You know what I mean? I don't know if anyone actually did that, because imagine for a belt to turn solid black, that'd be fucking disgusting. That's like there's mold growing on your belt, sir. Like, but yeah, that's but the colored belt definitely. This belt system, let's be honest, the colored belt system is for business and monetary purposes, because if people don't, it's very hard to feel your own improvement. So if people don't get the acknowledgement, they're like, yes, you're getting better, here's this, then they'll get discouraged and quit, you know. But where the like belt system we have started, I don't know, probably like with the Gracie academies, maybe like with the, but anyways, yeah.
Well, with me, I hate belts. Like I 100% hate belts.
Really?
Because for the fact that, like, let's say, like with me, like if I wear my blue belt with my gi, then everybody's like, "Oh, this is bullshit. You're not a blue belt." And I'm like, okay, so I don't think about it until somebody else tells me.
Well, when you're rolling with me, I'm like, dude, you're better than the blue belt. You know, like, because you and Peter, dude, it's like, right? I mean, am I?
Yeah, well, that's like the hard part is that it's like it's subjective, and it's also like school to school. So like, you'll get schools that will kind of intentionally sandbag their students, or you'll get instructors that are just like, I'm not going to promote you because we don't get along or whatever, you know. So if I don't get along with somebody to the point where I don't want to promote them, which I've never had, but I mean, we've only been here for 8 months, but if I dislike them so much, I would ask them to not be in the school anymore.
That's what we were talking about earlier. I'm like,
I would like,
just tell him, hey,
way before that, we would have got to the point where I'm like, listen, I need you to go train somewhere else. You know what I mean? Like, but also the issue is that some people will belt so slowly. I'm talking about a specific person in school, but it's no one that trains here. They train at a different school, but I'll leave it anonymous. So they were telling me like, you get a stripe a year or something like that at their school, 1 stripe a year, and I was like, well, how is that? Like, why? Like, you know what I mean? Like, imagine that if the youngest you could possibly be a blue belt is 16, and at that rate, you could never ever create an adult world champion black belt, because by the time you got your black belt, you're already like 35. You know, if you get a stripe a year. So and he was like, well, it's because they want to make sure that when you go to blue belt or go to purple belt or whatever, you're like a solid blue belt or purple belt. And in my mind, I'm like, dude, if you're coming to class 3 times a week, if I can't get you to be a solid blue belt in the year to 2 years, max 2 years, to be a blue belt skill level, like someone who deserves a blue belt, I am not doing a good job. You know what I mean? Like if you're consistently in class, if you fuck off and you come to class once a month, then you're probably never gonna get to blue belt. But the even like once or twice a week is not really enough. It's gonna take you a few years to get there, you know. But if you train, say 3-4 times a week, I should be able to get you to a deserving blue belt, not a world champion blue belt, but like you're a base level blue belt in, I don't know, a year and a half. It depends on the person's talent, obviously, and how fast they learn. But if it takes me So if you're doing a stripe a year, if it takes me 5 years to make you a blue belt, I'm not a good instructor. Yeah, I'm not doing a good job. My school is not producing good people.
Because I was telling him there's people that would tells me there's like there's a blue belt and then there's a blue belt. And then the blue belt is like that guy who goes out there and competes and puts everything on the line basically and goes out there. That's a blue belt. And then there's the blue belt who just shows up and trains because that's something he wants to do. And
yeah, so like I will probably make it a little harder for someone to get their blue belt if they're competing because they're gonna want, as soon as they get their blue belt, they're gonna enter into a new division, so they need to be closer to the top of the experience pool, you know. But it still should not take me 5 years. And the how do I say this? To add on to that is like there's like a blue belt and then there's like a competition blue belt. Then there's a sandbagging blue belt, which is I don't know, you know, like if you've been a blue belt for like fucking 10 years and then you go to compete.
What's sandbagging? So if like someone doesn't know,
sandbagging is like you compete under your division. You know what I mean? So like you should have a higher belt, but you sign up at white belt. Like a lot of we went to tournaments over a couple weeks ago, and it was, you see a lot more often in nogi because there's a guy that's like an MMA fighter or whatever, and he's been training for like 7 years or something, but he doesn't train in the gi, so he doesn't get promoted. And he signs up at like white belt. You know what I mean? It was like, yes, you're a white belt, but are you? Yeah. You know what I mean, like, so that's sandbagging. But and it's no fault of the students, because most tournaments or the major tournaments, like you verify. Well, okay, ibjjf verifies your belts and stuff, so you have to actually have the promotion. But the it's no fault of the student, but it's it's the fault of the instructor, in my opinion. You know, yeah. So tangent rant.
I mean, for me, who's like totally new to it, like, yeah, I mean, that it means, it says a lot. You know, I'm learning a lot.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah, I get frustrated when I see that, because it's like because I feel like instructors think that like adds some level of like clout or like honor to their school,
or some guy would be like, I want to train there, man, like you got the best, you know?
Yeah, well, kind of because but it'll be like it'll, you know, if it's like, if they make it feel like if it takes you a year to get this stripe, then that stripe, like, you know, really means something. But I see that, but there's a middle ground, because I feel like also it's like if it takes, like I said, if it takes me a year to get you worthy of a stripe, then I've failed as an instructor, you know, if you're training regularly. You know, so yeah.
So how'd you when'd you get into jiu-jitsu, man?
It's gonna be on my birthday. It's gonna be 7 years.
7 years.
Yeah. So
you told me the story about when you first got in, when you went in, and the guy. Tell that story we were talking about.
Which one was it?
I mean, when you walked into a gym and you're like,
yeah. So I switched gyms. That was the first time I switched gym, because like I'm like, hey, I'm not getting nowhere from this other gym, so I'm just gonna switch it up. And then I remember.
Where were you originally?
Down the street, the east.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I thought it was somewhere on the East Coast, but yeah, okay, there you go.
Yeah, so when I started there, it was cool and everything, but then I wanted more, so I'm like, let me just switch off, you know, to see what I could find. But then I went to this guy that I went a long time ago to try it out, and at that time there was no jiu-jitsu gyms around Escondido. That was the only one, and his price was like ridiculous. It was off the roof. The price is still ridiculous today, but you know, it's better than it was when I first talked to him in the beginning a long ass time ago.
That's the mega.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not in Escondido. It's right outside Escondido. Yeah.
So as soon as I went there, I was a white belt, and they only give you like one try for one day, whether you like it or not. You decide at that moment if you want to stay or you don't want to stay. Which I think you should give that person at least a chance to experience it a little bit more before that one day, because they don't know anything, especially when they don't have open mats.
If you're here, you're a psycho if you want to.
Yeah.
After one day, it's like you have to be a psycho, because Nick's going to put you to the test on the first day, dude.
So when I showed up, I was just a white belt, and I heard that he didn't have no open mats. I'm like, okay, that's crazy. You know what I mean? Every other gym have open mats, but he doesn't. So I'm like, all right, cool. And then I showed up, and it was no gi, because I love no gi more than gi, because to me gi is like a cheat sheet, but it's like it's cool, but it's like not my style.
I get what you're saying. Yeah.
And
yeah.
then but it's like I like no gi because I feel like I'm fighting for my life. When I do no gi, it's like, dude, this guy's gonna kill me. So that's the way I'm thinking. Like if I'm outside in the street, somebody's gonna try to kill me.
Remind me not to roll with you in no-gi anymore.
So well, I'll do cartwheels now. So I came in, and it was a big class, and so they lined up everybody up from ranks. I was a white belt, so they started all the higher ranks in the middle, and it's like when you start taking a turn, and you do like passing, so you have to pass, and they had like a board, a system, like, hey, if you're a black belt, you have to do sweeps. If you're a white belt, you have to score 2 points, and so on. So the first couple of times I went around, I'm like, oh, I want to get the feel of it. All right, cool. And then after that, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to use wrestling. So I started using wrestling. And then after that, everybody started complaining. They're like, dude, who the fuck is this guy? That's bullshit. He's no white belt, blah, blah, blah. And then he switched it up. He's like, okay, you're not going to be rolling with the lower belts no more. You're going to go against all my black belts.
This is in your trial class?
Yeah. I'm like, bring it on. Let's go. Like, I don't care. You don't scare me, dude. Like, let's go. I'm here to try out. I want to see how where this goes. And I want to see what you got.
How long had you been doing jiu-jitsu at this point?
I was like, what? Let me see. So I was 3 years white belt. And then I'm going to be my 4th year, right? I want to say. As a blue belt. So I was like, yeah, I was in my 3rd
Okay,
year.
so you had already been training a while.
Yeah. So, but with me, like, and then it was weird because once I got there.
Why did you stay white belt for 3 years? Oh, because they don't promote at your original school.
No,
yeah,
they do jiu-jitsu, but
they don't have a black belt. They don't have a black belt there.
They try to explain it to me, but to me it was like it made no sense.
Yeah.
It was just like, okay, but this is what I'm paying for.
Yeah.
But
well, the guy that ran that program was a blue belt at the time, right? So they couldn't give promotions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct. But they had a black belt to show up, but I don't know what happened in that situation. That everything fell apart, which I think like any school whatsoever like mixed martial arts will add into jiu-jitsu into it.
Mm-hmm.
It's golden.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But it's up to the owner what they want to do with the gym. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like let's say if I had a wrestling gym,
Mm-hmm.
I would want to put jiu-jitsu in it because when I used to do wrestling on Sundays in a different gym, I used to do jiu-jitsu, but not submissions.
Mm-hmm.
But I used to mix it in with the wrestling because I know the other guys are just wrestlers.
Mm-hmm.
So like let's say if I wanted to go for, let's say they brought me down, right? I will be able to block them away
Mm-hmm.
and try to scoot away and come back with a single leg.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Which a wrestler is like once you take it down, they just go straight to the belly.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? In jiu-jitsu, you cannot go on your belly because you'll get tapped out.
Mm-hmm.
So when I do go to the Sunday ones, it's like I like to mix in the jiu-jitsu into it because it helps a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And if you look at videos now, there's a lot of high schools who started, the wrestlers are starting to use jiu-jitsu moves into the wrestling.
I don't see why not, man.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's not like you're not trying to submit the person. It's just you're actually trying to pin that person down.
Yeah, you have to pick and choose because the main reason why not is because a lot of jiu-jitsu moves put your back on the mat, which would be an instant like loss in wrestling. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But my when I was at 10th Planet, my Sean Bollinger was the instructor there, and he used to say when he wrestled in high school,
Mm-hmm.
he would just get taken down to his butt,
Mm-hmm.
but he wouldn't lay on his back, and then he would just butterfly sweep. And
Yeah.
Saturday Night Ride, he would
Yep.
so he would always get taken down, and he would just butterfly sweep, go to mount,
Yeah.
ride it out from there. So yeah, you can use it for sure. Probably not at like the Olympic level, but at high school,
Mhm.
you know, yeah, for sure.
Like the old school catch wrestlings.
Oh, I never wrestled, so I don't know. I wrestled in PE. That's
Yeah.
about it, man.
They had wrestling in your PE program?
Yeah, so do we. We had it too.
Yeah, Mike, our teacher was a wrestling teacher, so he'd have us. We wrestle for a month, but we
Well,
have a blast.
They
You know,
used
it's
to call
fun.
it like the tryouts. That they would look for special wrestlers.
I mean, the only reason I didn't wrestle is because it was the same scene as basketball.
Mm-hmm.
So I would play
I used to
basketball
hate
instead of
that.
wrestling.
I used to
Yeah.
hate that so much. It was like, and then right after wrestling, it would be football.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the football players always wrestled in the off season for wrestling.
Yeah.
We are running out of time here because I got to get ready for
Alright.
the next class. So we could pick this up next time for part 2.
But I think we should introduce ourselves because I don't think we did that in the beginning. So I'm Ian. I'm the clear white belt. 3 months, the baby. That's what Omar calls me. We call me the baby. I'm the baby.
I'm 3 months. I'm like, you still consider to be a baby,
Yeah,
bro? Like, relax.
I'm the baby.
Omar has nicknames for everybody.
Oh, I can't remember names for shit. So everybody. So in the beginning, I was like the comic book.
You called
guy.
Dylan. Oh yeah,
He's like.
he's like, is we meeting with the what'd you say, like the comic
book-
warrior or something?
The comic book Star Wars guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's like, wait, what the hell are you talking about?
He calls. We have a guy named Dylan. And he just calls him 190. I'm like, why do you call him 190? And he's like, because he weighs 190 pounds. And I was like, you can remember his weight, but not his name. Like,
190er. That's what I was calling him. And he's like, I like that. I like that. He's like, that's cool. So everybody got nicknames. So
I'll keep the name baby.
baby.
Yeah, I'll do it.
okay.
I don't know. After I wear it might feel weird. But I don't mind it. Like, hey, baby, what's up?
Well, eventually it'll be like one of those ironic names. So you could be like a badass black belt, but they still call you like when they have those huge guys and they call them tiny.
I mean, my nickname in Filipino, my wife calls me. She named me as Baby Demulog.
Mm-hmm.
That just means you're just like kind of a big guy that just kind of hangs out and drinks water at the pond. Like that. Because I'm always used to always be at the beach. It's like, you're such a Baby Demulog. Like, go and do something with your life. Like,
Nice. Well, my name's Nick. We're just saying names, right? Yeah. My name's Nick. That's the end of that story. When
What are you
Omar,
trying to
you
hide?
introduce yourself. What's that?
What are you trying to hide?
Yeah.
Do I say my name? Omar.
Well, this is gonna be on my YouTube channel, so pretty much that's
You hiding from the FBI. Should I say my name?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm Omar. So.
And so we're gonna keep this YouTube exclusive for now, right? So if we're just gonna post everything on YouTube because we don't want the extra work of adding it to other platforms. And if you don't have YouTube, then you're living under a rock. Everyone has YouTube, so.
I was thinking we'll keep it. We'll always have the recording, so once we get to that point, we can just put it on podcast. You listen to going to work, or listen while you're at the gym working out, or while you're getting smashed like me, or something.
Dude, I listen to YouTube like if I'm driving, like this podcast I listen to on YouTube, and I just set the phone next to me and I don't look at the screen, So don't watch us while you drive, but don't ask us to do any more work. So it's gonna be on YouTube. So we'll get it other places later. So subscribe, like the video, leave a comment if it's positive. If it's not, we don't care. Tell it to someone else.
I don't read.
What's that?
I don't read.
You,
I never
you don't read or you can't read?
Both.
Okay. All right. So thank you guys for listening. We'll see you next week, and we're out. All right.